Special Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, February 16th, 2021, 6 p.m. here in the Merrill High School auditorium and conducted virtually or remotely. Tammy, could I have a roll call, please?
Brett Waller.
Here.
Linda Yingling.
Here.
Nevis Ashbeck. Ron Liberty.
Here.
Kendra Osnes.
Here.
Jeremy Ratliff. John Smith.
Here.
Maria Volpe.
Here.
Kevin Blake.
Here. Thank you, Tammy. If we could all rise as we're able and face the flag for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So as we get started here this evening, I'd like to do a quick introduction for this evening. As you know, we are here today in response to the filing of petitions by owners and electors in the town of Hamburg, which they requested that the property described in the petitions be detached from the Merrill Area Public School District and attached to the Athens School District. This time I'll read the legal description involved, legal description of the territory proposed for detachment. Following described areas encompasses all portions of the Merrill Area Public School District located within the town of Hamburg, Township 30 North, Range 5 East, Marathon County, Wisconsin, and is more particularly described as follows. All the sections 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 of the town of Hamburg. North half of sections 19, 20, and 21 of that town. All of sections 22, 23, 24, 25, and 27 of that town. A portion of section 33 of that town included in certified survey map number 2780 recorded in volume 10, page 253 is document number 777123, Marathon County Register of Deeds. All of section 34 of that town, excluding that portion located within the school district of Athens, being part of the southwest quarter of the southwest quarter, beginning at the northwest corner, thence south 561 feet, thence east 246 feet, thence north 561 feet, thence west 246 feet to the point of beginning, as described in document number 1461820, recorded in the Marathon County Register of Deeds. All of section 35 of that town, all of section 36 in that town, excepting the following, that portion of said section located within the school district of Marathon, consisting of part of the southeast quarter, the southwest quarter, beginning 1,369 feet east of the southwest corner of section 36, thence north 440 feet, thence east 300 feet, thence south 440 feet, thence west to the point of beginning. Part of the south half of the southeast quarter, comprising lot 1 of certified survey map number 17699, recorded in volume 85 at page 74, document number 1734685. The entire southeast quarter of the southeast quarter of section 36. All road right-of-ways in the town of Hamburg, excepting those portions located in the school district of Marathon and the school district of Athens. The list of the actual parcel identification numbers within said above territory around the petition and went from pages E3 through E6. The petitions are filed under Section 117.12 of Wisconsin statutes, which sets forth the procedure for small territory detachments. Among other requirements, 117.12 of Wisconsin statutes provides the opportunity for the electors and owners who sign the petition to address the Board of Education regarding the petitions. Specifically, 117.12(3) provides that the board is to give the electors and owners who sign the petition an opportunity to meet with the school board to present their reasons for the proposed reorganization. Accordingly, we are holding this public hearing today. This is an informal hearing. We will record all of the information presented, so please speak distinctly so we can be sure that your information is recorded properly. In line with the statutes, petitioners, those people asking the board to transfer the territory, will be heard first as to the reasons supporting their petitions. Board members will have the opportunity to ask any clarifying questions. Following the petitioners, the opponents of the petitions, those people who do not want the territory transfer, will be heard. Board members will again have the opportunity to ask any clarifying questions. Following the initial presentation, there may be a short time allotted for response by petitioners or opponents. Following all oral testimony from petitioners and opponents, we will read any written statements submitted to the board for people that could not be here this evening. When all public comments are complete, the board may move into executive closed session to confer with legal counsel regarding the information presented. Following the executive session, the board may come back in open session and discuss the criteria listed in section 117.15. At the meeting tonight and at a meeting on February 25th, the administration will present information on each of the applicable criteria. Following consideration of all the information on February 25th, the board will take action to deny or grant the petitions for detachment. Please note that any speakers tonight should please refrain from expressing complaints about specific individuals in open session. At this time, we will begin our public comments, which would be our petitioners, and I would invite Peter from Wade to step up to the table and the microphone to begin the presentation, and I believe Dr. Serby and Stevie Foxing were going to join him as well this evening. Trina, were you joining as well, or is that a separate statement?
I'm separate now, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right, hello. Thank you for having us here this evening. My name is Dr. Angie Serby. I'm one of the petitioner, owner, and elector in the Hamburg District. And for our first part of our presentation tonight, I have with me a couple colleagues.
Stevie Foxing, current Vice President of the Maple Grove Governance Board, current owner and elector in the Township of Hamburg.
I'm Peter from Wade. I represent 810 petitioners. Thank you. Small school works. It's an American truth. As described in the Marathon County Historical Society's Living History Project, and I quote, "One-room schoolhouses were formed from a 1787 ordinance that said, being necessary to good government and the happiness of mankind, school and the means of education shall forever be preserved." On September 26, 1870, Pomeranian settlers, to include Ferdinand Kleinschmidt, Henry Langhoff, and Gottlieb Seidler, met at the home of Jakob Niemann, my great-great-great-father, to plan the building of a schoolhouse, of which a 26-foot by 34-foot log structure was constructed and dedicated, then becoming District Number 1 in the town of Hamburg, Marathon County, Wisconsin. In 1904, on a 1-acre deeded with reversionary clause by John Seidler to the District Number 1 for $30, a 46-foot, 30-foot by 30-foot one-room schoolhouse was dedicated to serve the rural children and preserve education there forever. Small school works yesterday, it works today, and it works for generations. Advance, Travis. Yeah, just in there. There you go. Number 3. From 1904, District Number 1, then becoming adopted into the Athens School District, provided a quality hands-on immersive education, enlarging and modernizing the structure through the Fromm family and community donations amounting over $50,000. In 1952, Hamburg Districts Number 1 and Number 2 successfully petitioned to be annexed from the Athens School District to the Merrill School District to seek a transported bus opportunity for secondary education. A newspaper quote from the day. The inclusion of Maple Grove School into the Merrill School District, one of the most modern one-room rural school buildings in Wisconsin, a model in its own class. Now, a return to the Athens School District will grant the continued tradition of rural education for deserving students and the intentional adherence of the Walter and Mabel Fromm Scholarship Trust, now worth more than $6 million. Educational excellence. This rural community's educational legacy now spans 150 years. For 116 years, this, with additions, one-room schoolhouse has factually provided an excellence, immersive, hands-on personalized education. Since 1904, Maple Grove Charter School has adopted modern technology from electricity in 1928 to science labs and larger interactive teaching rooms in the 1940s, and additions throughout the 1950s, continuing to date. The Maple Grove Charter School, through the Sylvia Waller, the Walter and Mabel Fromm Scholarship, provide a unique university or technical college scholarship opportunity for Maple Grove Charter School graduates, students since the mid-1970s.
Math is a testimony that is written by one of our Maple Grove families. Math states an education that is more than just books and worksheets. It's a hands-on learning. The kids have access to wooded areas to play in at recess or take hikes in to see the trees and plants they are learning about, instead of just seeing pictures of them in textbooks. It is a community as well as a school. The students at Maple Grove have access to the adjoining school forest property and Wi-Fi enabled outdoor classroom, which is integrated into their core curriculum. The Maple Grove teaching staff have endless opportunities to create unique learning experience by bringing their classroom outdoors or by bringing their outdoors into their classrooms. Students have utilized these resources in the past to research and document invasive species, then create trail signs with QR code links to their research facts and findings, for just one example. The next slide is also a parent testimony. This parent writes, Maple Grove means being able to carry on a long tradition of community-based rural education. Our kids are the fourth generation in our family to attend, and I feel so lucky that they have the opportunity to be part of a warm, welcoming, creative environment that is helping them grow into kind, intelligent, and competent young men. Kids at Maple Grove are truly nurtured, heard, and cared for as if they were family. The Hamburg residents are vested in Maple Grove School and the future of our community. We should not merely be viewed as signatures on a petition. Just to give you a glimpse of who we are members of the volunteer fire departments that come in to teach fire safety and commit time to reading to students, which motivates them to reach their reading goals. We are aunts, uncles, grandparents, great-grandparents, and neighbors who set aside time each spring to provide firewood for the school's sugar shack and assist the staff collection and cooking so that the children can continue the 50-plus year tradition of maple syrup making. We are neighborhood farmers that offer up our farms for tour during the school's agriculture unit and provide the school with chicks to hatch and raise in the spring. We are also the parents who choose Maple Grove School because we know that these learning opportunities build a strong educational foundation, one that the students not only deserve, but one that will also help carry them throughout their life's journeys.
Skip those again. So some stats. Based on information provided by the Wisconsin Department of Instruction, and note that in 1920, the DPI was not able to provide accountability scorecards because the forward exam did not take place due to COVID-19. So they didn't provide those scorecards last year. Hopefully this year those will be provided once again. The most recent information is from 2018-19, and Maple Grove Charter School exhibits the following achievements. So over the last 4 years, Maple Grove has the highest overall accountability report card score of all the Merrill elementary schools. It also has the highest level of school growth at 84.1 out of all the elementary schools, which indicates it has surpassed the expectations of what test scores were supposed to be. In addition, the state DPI scorecard ranking for 18-19 was 70.3, which is in the category of meets expectations for the state of Wisconsin. This is a couple of points higher than the district average, which is 66.8. So additionally, 6.3% of Maple Grove students in 18-19 were open enrollment. And that compares to other elementary schools in Merrill of between 0 and 1%. Maple Grove Charter School's learning approach has a track record of student success, producing high-achieving students and attracting families from neighboring districts or those currently enrolled in online or homeschool curriculum. Maple Grove, over the past year, we saw the same situation play out again. As you know or may not know, the Wausau School District started out the year completely virtual. And our neighbors at Maine Elementary School, some parents from that group came over to Maple Grove because they wanted a in-person learning experience, which they were able to get. And those parents were actually really surprised that it wasn't a private school. And they actually did not know that. They thought they would have to pay. So they were pretty impressed when they saw that it was a public charter school that they could attend by open enrollment. And they've been very satisfied, even expressing support in the form of donations because they were very satisfied with high quality at Maple Grove. Over the last couple years, actually over the last 5 years, Maple Grove saw a 3% increase in the number of students. And that's compared to, over the same time period, a decrease of between 8% and 30% at the other Merrill elementary schools. I think we had a couple more slides. There we go. Thank you. So really, the way to sum up the last few slides that we've gone over is it's a culture that money can't buy. And this was actually said in discussion by your board last fall, when we first started talking about the future of Maple Grove.
Detachment. On November 20th, 2019, after being moved from central office building due to overcrowding documented by media and the public record, the Merrill Area Public Schools, MAPS, administration, and Board of Education expressed and demonstrated by board action thereafter a deliberate, ongoing, expensive interest to consolidate the Maple Grove Charter School despite a basis for the 2018 operating referendum. In this singular consideration, the Hamburg property owners and electors have filed 2 unique petitions in adherence with the state statute 117.12 to detach the territories, formerly 1952 Districts 1 and Number 2, from the Merrill School District to the Athens School District. Advance. The town of Hamburg. The town of Hamburg is a traditional 36-section town. Those of you that are at home cannot see the screen perhaps, but 1952 School District Number 4 is characterized in pink. It remains the School of Athens. 2/3 of Hamburg is Merrill Area Public Schools. It represents 1952 School District Number 1 and Number 2. The green shaded area within the town of Hamburg of 1 and 2 represent the signed petitions. Petition number 1, owners. Over 460 owners have signed this petition, accounting for over $35 million of property value. Petition number 2, electors. Just under 350 electors have signed this petition, further demonstrating the combined resolve of this town, overwhelmingly surpassing the requirements to file these 2 now certified and recorded petitions with the state of Wisconsin. Furthermore, a neighboring property owner and petitioner recently has submitted a letter of interest to acquire back the Maple Grove Charter School properties. Later, you may have an opportunity to consult with your legal counsel, but please be aware that number one, there may be reversion rights connected to this property. And number two, I have a supplement provided for you within the state statute number 66.02353B. The right to possession and control of Maple Grove Charter School and sites composing of 3 parcels passes to the Athens School District immediately upon attachment or detachment. I will provide the supplemental on the stage.
Could you please advance the slide?
The strategic plan. I was fortunate to be part of a community committee, along with administration, the public, students, faculty, and many more. During this process, this committee theorized and put together a plan which was adopted by this school board. Part of that strategic plan is community partnerships and goodwill. There is no better goodwill than to allow these citizens who have duly, democratically, statutorily petitioned to you to detach and reattach to their home school district. This is the essence of community goodwill. Student wellness and staff wellness. Part of your strategic plan is to consolidate and allow teachers and students to be in a central building or buildings within town, in the thought that centralization will provide wellness. By allowing the Maple Grove Charter School, a rural school, to detach and attach to Athens, we are providing wellness for the Merrill area public school students, staff, and community, the Maple Grove Charter School staff, students, and community, and the central Wisconsin area at large. Fiscal responsibility. Part of the strategic plan is to be fiscally responsible. We must adhere to this plan from this point forward. And the past is the past, but you have a choice to go forward fiscally within the plan, allowing Maple Grove to detach from your own point of view, saving money, and allowing these rural people to move forward with their lives. This is fiscally responsible for the Merrill area public schools, for Maple Grove Charter School, and central Wisconsin again at large. Please fulfill your adopted strategic plan.
Okay, next slide, please. So in conclusion, I see we have some public here today, and I just want to get a feel, if I could ask those of you who are here in support of the detachment to please stand. With overwhelming and resounding support from the community, we believe detachment from the Merrill District and subsequent attachment to the Athens School District is the best and the only course of action that will ensure viability and bolster the success of both school districts. We will preserve Maple Grove Charter School and the wider Hamburg community. So we respectfully request that the Board of Education approve the intentions of the majority of your citizens living in the town of Hamburg by accepting the petitions before you. Thank you for your time. Do you have any questions?
Any board members have any clarifying questions for the presenters? Mr. Smith?
This could be for either Angie or Peter. In the document sent to us, titled Summary of Arguments, Angie indicated the Walter Maple Fromm Scholarship Trust to be of a value of $3.5 million. In Peter's testimony, he stated $6 million. Could you clarify that, please?
Yes, thank you, John. I misspoke. The current value of this trust, operated by the U.S. Bank, is last reported to be $3.5 million. $6.5 million since the mid-1970s has been awarded.
Thank you.
You have a copy of the summary of arguments. I'm just going to lay it on the page in case you want to take a copy as well. Thank you again.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
In regards to the signers, do you have any indication the 350 electors or the 460 property owners? What's the total so I can understand the percentage?
Yes, I can speak to that, John. Let's talk about the Electors Petition. These are two unique petitions. The electors of the territory described within the pre-described territory. It's quite large. It encompasses 18,000 acres. Of that territory, signed petitioners represent 58% of that territory. 50% is required to move forward statutorily. The owners. The owner's petition, being a unique petition, is governed by land value. The territory described is worth approximately $47 million. Signed petitioners represent now 35 million. 24 million would be 50%. This petition has surpassed that by $9 million of property.
So if I understand that correctly, $35 million worth of property owners signed the petition out of potential $47 million?
Yes.
Thank you.
Maria?
I don't know that you all can speak for the families that signed the petition, but if you could just speak to perhaps what your intentions are. If the detachment would happen to Athens, is it the general way that the families would go is to commit to Athens through high school? Or would there be more open enrollment to other districts?
That I can't speak to everybody, so sorry Maria, I can't see over the TV. I'm not tall enough. As far as my family, yes, I can speak to that, we would. However, I know that there are some property owners and electors in the town of Hamburg that currently have students who are no longer of elementary age. And for those families, the couple that I've spoken to recently would want to continue with Merrill through high school. So I think it kind of depends on the age of the students within the household. So again, that older group that's already kind of through Maple Grove and into Merrill Prairie River Middle School and into Merrill High School, intentions may be to continue going that way. And the younger families may more so be to go up through Athens for their entire career. So hopefully that answers your question a little bit.
I can speak to that as well. I mean, situation as well. Sorry, I can't see you. I'll move a little bit. So I have a unique situation as well, which has put my family in a very, very tough predicament and decision to make as well, because we have a high school senior this year. So of course, he will not be continuing on with Merrill after that. We have an 8th grade student who you may remember when I spoke regarding special education services at a past board meeting. My 8th grader has an IEP and receives special education services. And then I have a current Maple Grove 4th grader. So my family has deliberated and we have prayed and thought very hard, and we have determined that Athens would be our home as well.
I could speak to the families that have expressed to me. Many families, as Angie said, have children enjoying this school district and care to continue. Some and many will go to Athens, Maria. Athens has committed to high school, through high school, elementary and high school, and has committed to keep the Maple Grove Charter School intact and operating as a charter school. We are hopeful that there can be an interaction, so to speak, of students to and from both school districts cooperatively. That would be the most advantageous for both communities, both school systems, and both strategic plans.
Mr. Smith, follow-up question.
Question in regards to the overall, has the town of Hamburg had, aside from, I suppose, governance board meetings, the opportunity for all the citizens to congregate and express their opinions on the detachment issue, aside from signing petitions? Did you meet as a collective group of citizens to hash this very major decision out?
Yes. A town meeting was called in August. Announcement was given to that town meeting publicly and personally. Every town citizen received a postcard. We met and it was talked over. it was well represented, and its citizenship has had full opportunity to weigh in. This town wants to go home. They have wanted to for quite a while.
Thank you.
Any other questions from board members to clarify from this presentation this evening? I only had one, Dr. Serby, later on. I do have a written comment from yourself. Did you want to be reading that now, or you want me to read that at the time of any other additional written comments?
I can read it now. Do you want me to come grab it?
If you could. Could hand those to me at the same time? Okay. Wonderful. Thanks.
Yep. I know you have this.
All right. So I'm writing this letter to you in the capacity of an elector and property owner of 40 acres in the town of Hamburg, which is currently in the MAPS district territory proposed for detachment. This fall, I signed 2 petitions, one as an elector and one as a property owner, in favor of detaching the town of Hamburg from the MAPS district and attaching it to the Athens School District. My reasons for doing so are as follows. The MAPS district has made it abundantly clear that not only do they have zero interest in operating Maple Grove Charter School after June 30th, 2022, they have no interest in fairly considering the benefits of operating a local exploratory rural charter school option in the Hamburg area. As a property taxpayer to my local school district, I find it disadvantageous to pay property taxes to continue to support a district that has no interest in supporting educational needs of our children in our township. Since the MAPS district does not intend to support the Hamburg community's educational needs after June 30th, 2022, I would plan to vote no to each upcoming referendum for MAPS. After June 30th, 2022, assuming Hamburg remains within the MAPS district, a charter school option will not be available in the district due to the consolidation of elementary schools. Additionally, the exploratory rural learning environment that our children have thrived in Maple Grove will no longer be available in the MAPS district. When my husband and I attended and graduated from Merrill High School, we enjoyed benefits of multiple foreign language options along with numerous extracurricular offerings. This was attractive to us as parents when we first enrolled our children in the MAPS district at Maple Grove Charter School. However, over the years, many of these options have been eliminated, and MAPS is again relying on a referendum to continue some offerings. It appears that the Board of Education prefers to invest in administration rather than broadening and deepening its educational offerings to enrich students' education. This makes the MAPS district less attractive. It has the feel of a large and impersonal school district, but offerings of a small school district. The Athens School District is closer in proximity to my residence. Athens Middle High School is located 11 miles from my property, compared with Prairie River Middle School, located 18 miles from my property, and Merrill High School, located 20 miles from my property. Additionally, if our children needed to attend Cape Goodrich or Washington, beginning in the 22-23 school year, those schools are 18 to 19 miles from my property. This is compared to Maple Grove Charter School, which is located 3 miles from my property. If our children attend Maple Grove Charter School and Athens Middle High School, my husband and I can easily drop them off and pick them up each day. However, if we remain in the MAPS district, the distance would be too great and we would need to send them on the bus. This would increase their transportation time to up to 3 hours per day versus 10 to 25 minutes for Athens. As a property owner and elector in the town of Hamburg, currently in the MAPS district territory proposed for detachment, I respectfully request that the MAPS District Board of Education approve the detachment of this land. It offers MAPS District an option to be rid of Maple Grove Charter School and its supporters once and for all. Thank you. Would you like?
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Hearing anything further to say about this, does anyone board have any clarifying questions on that matter or that statement? No, right? Thank you. The next public comment by a petitioner coming up to that same microphone, please, would be Sean Hendricks from Rainbow Drive in Hamburg.
He had to go get the boys from wrestling. He'll be back. Unless you want me to read it.
That's all right, if Sean would like the opportunity, will let me know when he comes back, and we'll have a break, and we'll invite Sean back up to the microphone. Next, then, I would invite Trina Lutsky to come up to the microphone. She is a non-petitioner.
My name is Trina Lutsky, and I moved to Merrill just over 8 years ago. I met my husband, a Merrill native, at the university we both attended in Oklahoma. I had grown up in the Twin Cities and hadn't considered myself a city girl until I met people like my husband who told me they did things like burn their trash. We decided we wanted to raise our family in a more rural environment close to home and where community and family would be clear messages that they would have embedded in them as core cultures. My oldest daughter, and only at the time of our move, was 2. We were what seemed forever away from the school-age years, but as I was an English teacher and my husband's new job led him to unpredictable hours, the transition to the area led me to have to put her in daycare for the first time. I called upon my sister, who is a guru for early childhood education and a sought-after consultant in the cities. I asked her to do some research on the local daycares and give me her professional opinion on where her niece should go. I tell that to you because if you see the lengths and research I did in order to put my child in a daycare, I hope you can imagine the thought that goes into their continued education. The district has been dealing with continued problems that come from declining enrollment since our family arrived. As a former educator and a current business owner, I know what it's like to deal with reports, analyze numbers, and still have to figure out how to come out with a vision on the other side. And here's why I think it's important to share my story, even if some of you have heard it before. I am your target client. I am the young family that could have moved anywhere in the area. We are the college-educated couple that came into the district seeking local employment. I am the motivated community member, eager to serve my tribe, and after moving on from teaching, has brought a business with me to the area that did just shy of $3 million last year. I had 2 more children since our move, all who will no doubt continue to score high in their standardized testing because of the environment they grow up in, which prioritizes experiences and education. It is important that as a board you continue to figure out how to create a vision for a district so that families like mine will want to relocate here or open enroll into your in-town schools instead of intentionally open enroll out. Now I know what you're probably thinking, wow, she is full of herself, okay? That's not the picture I'm trying to paint. You see, a majority of my current job is to be a recruiter. I seek out people I think would do well, and then when I see something, I invite them to join. Now, the Board of Education should be thinking collectively as recruiters. How do you make maps a place where young families want to be and are proud to stay? How do you create an environment where you have entire communities like the one from Maple Grove that you've been fighting? How do you create ones that are 100% invested and all in on every educational opportunity you provide in the district, instead of being the odd man out and the culture you fight against? I think the most disheartening piece of this puzzle is that whatever positive branding Merrill has been attempting to do in the past has been completely tarnished by this consolidation of Maple Grove that resurfaced in November 2019. You were told by your district advisors if you don't vote to close Maple Grove, you'll be forced to close Jefferson sooner. Well, we stand here today with Jefferson closed because David battled Goliath, but Jefferson didn't have a contract to use as a small stone in a slingshot. Did you know that universities statewide are doing case studies on the Maple Grove versus MAPS BOE trial? Merrill is being made infamous in classrooms full of up-and-coming educators as the district who is relentlessly trying to shut down a historic and successful charter school for financial reasons. Now I want you to think about that branding and how on earth you're going to attract your target clients to your newly consolidated district. Because I would assume that you would love to have meetings about how to build new schools and how to fight out the statewide requests of people asking your staff to come please teach their district how to achieve such high test scores. But instead, we have meetings like this tonight, where you have an entire community that feels so unlistened to and so unserviced that they want to leave. Now, let's not kid ourselves. This is about money. If this wasn't about money, it was somehow about the vision you have for successful schools and how Maple Grove doesn't fit, then you would have dealt with the contract as is, not renewed it, and been on your way. But instead, you chose to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars rebranding yourself as a district attempting to alienate itself from its community. You created a culture where an overwhelming number of petitioners decided they were better without you. I'm always one for metaphors, and I keep picturing this one as abusive foster parents who wouldn't let someone be adopted out because they wouldn't receive the check from the state. Now, I have to believe that anyone that would put in hours and hours of community service as a board member or as an educator would never actually have that mindset. But with every denial the board does when given an opportunity to save face, save money, and save a school, it is becoming harder for me to believe that that's not as simple as that. Now, the Athens and Maple Grove Governance Board want to have open discussions with you about opportunities, future plans to work together. And I think that even speaks, Maria, to the question you had before about what are the plans for people that continue on that would be open enrolled. Honestly, I think a lot of people are going to plan on what's the best educational opportunity for their family. Athens is nowhere near where I live. Okay, I live right off of Q. My kids are supposed to go to Jefferson, that's how close we are. But I'm gonna make my decision based on my kids and what the opportunities are that are available regardless of district. And I think you're gonna find that there are a lot of families that are wanting the districts to partner, where you might find some of those Maple Grove families coming back to the district. So the question is, how can we work together to service everyone? However, multiple requests for the boards to meet were met with denial after denial. The only way we are able to have open conversations with the board that our students are currently in is by standing here, physically speaking out loud and knowing, well, at least I know they heard it. When I was thinking of a possible goal I would have here tonight when speaking with you, this isn't about saving Maple Grove, because the reality is, here's what I expect. I expect whenever your board decides to take action on the petitions, that you will deny them, because repeatedly that is the action you've been directed to take. Our community will rise up once again and provide the necessary second round of signatures, which will make both your denial and even your appeal to the court decision moot points. Maple Grove will become part of the Athens School District, and you will have continued the narrative that the universities are already painting of you. Merrill did everything they could to shut down a successful charter school. They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in order to shut down a school that had a culture that money can't buy, rather than just allowing them to continue through the 2-year contract they already agreed upon, 1 year of which they knew would be caught up in the appeals process. Merrill will not have open communication with the board they were in contract with when genuine olive branches were extended. This cannot possibly be the narrative that any of you are proud to be writing. So I encourage you, rewrite this ending. Take the time to figure out why you'll be fed information from district spreadsheets that say this shouldn't be approved. I hope you ask them to crunch the numbers that were spent on litigation that could have been spent on anything else. Ask them to crunch the opportunity cost you lost from entire communities of voters who are not going to want to pass a referendum because the narrative they see and hear is that of the abusive foster parent. If this petition is denied, the community will know that you were hopefully rolling the dice again with their money, hoping that somehow we wouldn't get our legwork done in order to get the second round of signatures in time. But we will, and we will detach. And then there will have to be more money spent on what this looks like, because by that point, I'm sure you'll somehow be fighting to force us to keep our contract for 1 more year, which is completely against everything you've thrown money at in court in the first place, trying to prove somehow that you should be allowed out of our contract. Vote to approve the petition. Rewrite your story. You have the power to stop this. You have the power to build bridges with neighboring communities, to foster partnership, where maybe Maple Grove is desired for elementary, but Merrill Secondary is the desired option for open enrollment. Culture will create itself if not being driven intentionally in the direction of a positive vision. Take this last opportunity you have to drive it into a direction where Merrill's Board of Education can be seen as responsible and invested listeners into what's best for the community, instead of a group who feels they have driven too far in the wrong direction to turn back now. Move to approve the petition and rebrand yourself.
Any board members have any questions for Ms. Letsky? Thank you, Trina. I don't believe I saw Sean come back in yet, has he? All right. And at this time, I will see if Olive Prim is available. Is Olive here to speak? All right.
My name is Olive Prim. I'm in second grade. I go to Maple Grove and I love my school. Place of Maple Grove in Hamburg detached from Maple, Merrill schools and attached to Athens, so my siblings and I can keep going to Maple Grove. I love my school because we get to do some things like earn Fiscal Rewards and raise chickens. I get to play in the forest and everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Olive. Is Mr. Terry Bondo here? So please step to the microphone.
I'm not a resident of the town of Hamburg. I reside in the town of Pine River. Most of what I have to say is going to be repetitive, but I took the time to write it and to come here, so I'm going to say it. The other benefit, I think, for me to stand up here and say something is to let you know that it's not just the people in the town of Hamburg or people who have children in Maple Grove School who have an opinion on this matter. I'm fourth generation living in Merrill. I was born here in Merrill. I moved here 12 years ago to retire here because I love the area. And I know about the history of Maple Grove School because I started my teaching career in Athens. So I know about the farm family and all of that. So anyway, I've got 6 reasons that I believe the board should approve the detachment petitions. And the first, it's the board's own actions that cause the petitions. It's sadly, there's a self-inflicted wound, or in tennis terms, it's an unforced error. By trying to close the historic and successful charter school for insufficient and in what I consider to be in some cases false allegations, the board really gave the parents of Maple Grove no alternative other than to seek detachment. Second, I think, as has been stated and the board's actions made clear, the Merrill board does not want Maple Grove School, but it appears that we do want the state aid for the Maple Grove students and the property tax money from the Maple Grove parents. From my perspective, that's an unfair one-way street. It's not very neighborly, and it's not reflective of small-town values. Third, the reasons the board gave for closing Maple Grove School, at least that I heard at the meetings I attended, were declining enrollment and the need to save money. Well, in 5 years, the other elementary schools in Merrill lost around 200 students. Maple Grove didn't lose any. In addition, in this failed effort to try to close Maple Grove, you spent around $250,000. By last summer, you already spent over $200,000 in litigation fees. I think that's not saving money. In my view, that's wasting money. So I think to save money, the board should recognize the concept of sunk cost, stop throwing good money after bad, and end the effort to close Maple Grove. And you can do that by approving the detachment petitions. I think it's very important for Merrill to be able to pass a referendum to exceed the revenue limits. Over 30 years, I've worked in 5 different school districts, so I understand school finance. And what I'm concerned about is that this effort to close Maple Grove has alienated people other than those that live in Amber. It's alienated me. I live in the town of Pine River. And when I look at the results from the last election, if about 500 people switch their votes, you're going to have a problem passing that referendum. Continuing this effort to close Maple Grove won't help your effort to pass that referendum. And finally, when I moved back here about 12 years ago, Merrill School Board was a bit of a laughingstock. And it was riddled with conflict and controversy. But since that time, through good efforts from the current superintendent and the current board, you have done a lot to improve your public image. But with this effort to close Maple Grove, I think you're headed back in the wrong direction. Fortunately, it's not too late to change course. I think if you show some consideration and empathy for the Maple Grove parents and approve their detachment petitions, you'll do a lot for your public image. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Dave. Any clarifying questions from board members? Mr. Bonner? All right, thank you. Sean still has not returned from picking up the boys from wrestling.
One of them was 6:45 pickup, the other one was 7 o'clock pickup over here, so he should be in here shortly.
I do have some written statements. One that I wanted to clarify from the Maple Grove Governance Board, and I will put this into the record, that it was resolved that the Governance Board of the Friends of Maple Grove hereby supports detaching a portion of the town of Hamburg, currently part of the Merrill Area Public School or MAPS district, from MAPS, and attaching this property to the Athens School District. Resolution unanimously passed on January 11th, 2021. Friends of Maple Grove Governance Board at their meeting 7-0. The entire document will be attached to the minutes. We did have some other written statements. We'll see if Sean comes back in to speak in person. I'm going to ask Board Member Vice President Volpe to please read the two statements that were provided from the public. Read their names and their statements, please.
The first one is from Sharon Kraft, and I'll read that. Hello, board members. Per Dr. Sample's letter, written statements regarding this subject may be submitted prior to Tuesday's meeting. As a landowner and a resident in the Maple Grove school area, please accept this as my statement. My husband Gary and I have signed the needed petitions. To transfer the school to the Athens School District will create convenience for many parents in regard to transportation, as our town residents reside closer to Athens than to Merrill. This will save time and money for many parents when students enter middle school in a few short years. School district boundaries are contiguous. Maple Grove staff, parents, and neighbors are very committed to keeping the school operating in excellent fashion, as has been proven time and time again. Closure of this idyllic and historic school would be a huge loss. As I see complications and shortcomings of modern living, I see an absolute need to keep history alive. I live about a half mile from the school, and it is a pleasure to hear students playing cheerfully outside and to hear fire trucks arrive so children become comfortable with firefighters and their equipment. I am so proud of this school's rich culture, knowing that students are learning respect, independent creative thinking, nature, and technology. They will naturally grow into responsible adults who compassionately contribute to their community and to all of society. This school should formally be marketed as a model for other schools across the country. Best regards, Sharon Kraft. And then we have another email from Sarah Faber, sent on February 16th. To whom it may concern in the means of MAPS Board of Education and Administration. I am writing you today advocating on behalf of older students that are living in Hamburg, currently up against losing their roots and being part of MAPS and potentially forced to detach to the Athens School District. These kids need someone that will advocate their wants, needs, and emotions during all this adult matter. After all, it is about the kids, right? Over the years, these same kids have watched this district try time and time to close our rural elementary school, Maple Grove. Bitterness may be left with the adults as they still, to this day, continue to battle within the courts on closure of that school. But what happens to these older kids? Are these kids outside of the elementary level stuck in the detachment mess closure court case created by MAPS Board of Education Administration, Maple Grove Governance Board, and Peter Fromm just collateral damage? Have what they are about to lose such great opportunities continuing education with MAPS versus Athens been considered? This wasn't their choice. And to be honest, it will be heartbreaking to see all they worked for as a MAPS student be tossed to the curb because of bitterness that puts a barrier on what matters most, these kids, all the kids. Where does all of this come from, you ask? Well, last week I messaged Mr. Sample on my concerns with transportation and such, and if a solution be found for these kids that want to continue with the district, such as meet transfer points. He said no, plain and simple, no. Furthering his response was they can open enroll, great. How will they get to school? Oh yes, be driven to and from by their parents. Okay, that I understand, but what they won't understand, as in the kids, is that commitment from full-time working parents, getting them to and from school, probably is not going to happen. So, we as parents, kids outside the elementary level, are left defeated by this Let's Save Maple Grove campaign, one of which I was on board with until detachment talks began. Why would I follow the tribe to fight for this detachment when half my son's second grade class will not commit to Athens as their forever school path? I can only imagine the ratios on the remaining grades throughout the Maple Grove school who are not willing to commit to Athens permanently. Why have they stated they were unsure of where their kids will go after elementary level? Well, opportunity, of course. Athens is limited in opportunity it offers to older students versus what we have now with MAPS. Okay, great. Some of these same parents stating these obvious reasons also have means of permanent transportation of their students to and from MAPS. I, like many, do not. Heck, some are not even in the Hamburg area, so fighting for this detachment just to keep Maple Grove open so their kids can go there for, again, the obvious reason, opportunities it presents or has to offer. Hamburg is as rural as it gets, and the opportunities that MAPS offers is far greater than those offered in yet another rural community such as Athens. Can we get commitment from all those that are involved in saving, eliminating Maple Grove and solving the transportation concern for those that want to open enroll to MAPS if a detachment happens, to who are currently and have been in the MAPS district? How much devastation is this group of individuals willing to do to these kids in detaching? Could we grandfather families from Hamburg that have been in the MAPS district wanting to continue with MAPS and come up with a solution with assisting in transportation options for these students? Can we see that those kids potentially affected by this mess are taken care of and still given the opportunities they waited years for as older MAPS students? Or will this group of kids go unheard? Please note that this goes deeper than just Maple Grove students. Say no to the detachment. Respectfully, Sarah Faber.
Thank you, Maria. I believe I saw Mr. Hendricks come in. Sean, if you could go to the microphone to our right and your left-hand side, please.
Sorry, thank you. We want to get kids from wrestling practice. My name's Sean Hendricks. I got a couple kids born in Maple Grove. My daughter went through Maple Grove too. I didn't really plan on talking. Here more or less to listen and watch, see what got brought up and everything. My comments that I do have from listening to what I did get to hear is the history part. It's great. It doesn't hold weight for a lot of people, and I understand that. Some people, it is everything, and it matters. Even if you don't think it holds a lot of weight compared to the education side of it, it's a part of it. It has to count for something. It's frustrating listening to it over and hearing it again. It matters to a lot of people in Hamburg, and that's your petition that you got in your hands. I see a real lack of follow through with the community from MAPS as a whole. I'm not saying the board entirely. I see it. It's hard to put it out there for this. It matters to the community that it's a small school. It shows that it works. It's frustrating me that it shows that it works. And Merrill is trying to pull this all into bigger schools. It's a loss on these kids in these small schools. You have an opportunity here with these small schools around Merrill. You don't have to pull them all together. I don't know the numbers on the economics of it. I don't. That's above me, my pay grade. But I can see test scores that are shown in these presentations. You guys have opportunity here. Whether it's a detachment process or not, I think you guys are missing the mark. Do I think Maple Grove fits better in Athens? It will to most people in Hamburg, not everybody. Favors, I see where they're coming from, I really do. It's not an easy decision. I think it's the right decision for Hamburg. It's a lack of support from MAPS as a whole. It's better for the community and the outliers that they have there. I think you guys got a tough decision. I'm glad I don't have to make it, but I think it's the right one to detach. That's what I got for you.
Any board members have any clarifying questions before Sean gets back to his seat? All right. Thank you for your comment, Sean. That was from the petitioners and owners and other members that had asked and filled out the public comment form and the written statements read by Vice President Wolbeck. At this time, I will call to the microphone Dr. John Sample.
I wanted to provide some relevant background information tonight to the proposed detachment. Can you hear me okay?
I can. I don't know if the audience can. I'm trying to sway the microphone.
There we go.
There we go. Thank you.
I'll provide some background information relevant to the proposed detachment. If I could see map 1, please. This shows the maps of the proposed area of detachment, approximately 17,000 acres. The petition describes the area as all portions of the Merrill Area Public School District located within the town of Hamburg, Township 30 North, Range 5 East, Marathon County, Wisconsin. We can show map 2, please. The petition then describes the property that was particularly as read by Mr. Blake earlier. And map 3. Section 26 is not included in the property description. It creates a hole in the middle of the proposed area for detachment. For the enrollment of students in proposed area of detachment, as of the third Friday of September 2020, 79 students, 56 were enrolled in MAP schools and 23 were open enrolled out to other districts. By the second Friday of January 2021, 77 students, 54 enrolled in MAP schools and 23 open enrolled out to other districts. For Maple Grove, with 73 students, 30 students live in the proposed area of detachment, 26 students live outside the proposed area of detachment, and 17 students open enrolled into MAPS. While we are still getting the petition notices back, approximately half of the families with students who attend Maple Grove and live in the area proposed to be detached did not sign petitions. Also, approximately half of the families who attend other MAP schools and live in the area proposed for detachment did not sign petitions. Students living in the proposed area of detachment, students attending MAPS Middle School, High School, and Bridges Virtual Academy will have to open enroll into Merrill. Students will not be provided transportation, and a non-resident district is not required to provide transportation and cannot pick up or drop off a student in a resident district without the resident district's permission. Students living outside the proposed area of detachment enrolled in Maple Grove School, they would have to open enroll into Athens School District if they wish to attend school there. They would not be provided transportation, and a non-resident district is not required to provide transportation and cannot pick up or drop off a student in a resident district without the resident district's permission. Now I'd like to go through some of the, or all of the areas and address each area of criteria under 117.15. Priority number 1, the geographical and topographical characteristics of the affected school district, including the estimated travel time to and from school from pupils in the school districts. The topography of both school districts is similar, mostly flat with slightly rolling hills traversed by small streams and rivers. Geographically, they adjoin boundaries in the township of Hamburg. Hamburg's 2010 census, which is the latest we have, indicates 918 residents, most of which reside in the Merrill School District boundary. The distance from Athens High School to the northeasternmost point of Hamburg is approximately 18 miles. The distance from the southwesternmost point of the current Merrill School District boundary to the Merrill High School is approximately 22 miles, according to Google Maps. A simulated bus route, including all bus-eligible students in Hamburg to Athens High School, is approximately 55.5 miles long and 1 hour and 22 minutes in time. The same simulated route, including all bus-eligible students in Hamburg to Merrill High School, is 59.7 miles long and approximately 1 hour and 35 minutes in length. While the impact of a detachment for purposes of estimated travel time is not significant, it should be noted that a significant impact will occur for those students seeking to open enroll into Athens to attend Maple Grove, and those students seeking to open enroll into MAPS to attend MAP schools. These students will not be provided transportation. While the area in Section 26 does not currently include students enrolled in MAPS, any students in the future from that area will not have transportation to MAP schools. For priority number 2, the educational needs of all children residing in the affected school districts, the educational programs currently offered by each affected school district, and the ability and commitment of each school district to meet the needs and continue to offer those educational programs. MAPS remains committed and able to meet the educational needs of district students and to provide comprehensive and competitive educational programs. To continue to provide all of the educational opportunities, the district, which is a declining enrollment district, must have adequate funding. Much of this funding comes from the revenue generated by the tax levy. While the district will remain committed and have the ability to provide quality education programs into the future, any detachment, including the proposed detachment, presents a threat to district finances and enrollment. The district will provide additional information regarding financial impacts at the board meeting on February 25th. While the board is aware of the excellent education and many extracurricular activities and opportunities available to MAP students, I provided you the State of the District Annual Budget Book, and I'd like to highlight some of those areas for you tonight. For Part A, the schools outside of the area proposed for detachment, we have Pine River School for Young Learners, which is our early childhood and 4K and Head Start program. Cape Goodrich for next year will be kindergarten through second grade. Washington Elementary School will house and provide services to grades 3 and 4. Prairie River Middle School, grades 5 through 8. Merrill High School, 9 through 12. Also MATA, providing adult education. And the Bridges Virtual Academy, which is K-12 and is ranked #1 virtual school in the state for the last 4 years. Special education. Our district meets the needs of all students regardless of their disability. We offer co-taught classrooms as well as the push-in model exposing students to grade level curriculum. MAPS is also home to the Northern Achievement Center, which provides services to students requiring intensive behavior management. All special education services are provided by school district employees with the exception of physical therapy and visual impairment. Those are contracted services. For curriculum instruction, we continue to hold student achievement at its highest priority, second only to student safety. Our recent achievement strategies include the purchased reading intervention, one-to-one laptop initiative, professional development series, focused on a specific teaching approach. It's also important to include these things are not typically called programs but are important elements of the district strategy to serve students. For example, one-to-one paraprofessional support for special needs students, coaching for ELL teachers, co-teaching, maintaining small class sizes, extended day for struggling students, and programs funded by Title I. The district also uses Alan Auden's plan of action to guide staffing priorities and decisions. Our strategic plan includes a comprehensive reading and phonics program through all grades 4K through 12, beginning with the implementation of a freshman level reading course at the high school and expanding the middle school reading program to grades 7 and 8. Also providing 45 minutes of prep time every day for each teacher, plus 45 minutes 3 times per week to meet in their professional learning communities and provide professional development specifically for PLC best practices. In addition, during the 1920 school year, elementary teachers participated in a book study to learn about neuroplasticity and the science behind learning to read. Phonics curriculum were reviewed, and the selection process was undertaken to select programs to pilot for 2021. The district will conduct a pilot of phonics curricula at each of the elementary schools next year, selecting the most effective program for full implementation for the 21-22 school year. We've also strategically placed our professional development days to align with benchmark assessments where all the buildings have a full day to analyze student data, realign interventions, identify instructional strategies, and have a learning plan in place that is continuously monitored and updated as the year progresses. MAPS partners with North Central Technical College to offer high-level classes. We offer 14 AP classes, 15 courses for dual credit, and other opportunities through our youth apprenticeship program, which is the largest in the area. Our district also provides real-world experience through our School to Work program. In recent years, our arts program has produced a 2-time champion at the high school state level and a national champion for the VFW program at the 2nd grade level. Over 100 murals occupy the walls of Merrill High School, all completed by Merrill High School students. MAPS graduating seniors earn about $1.5 to $2.2 million in scholarships each year. Our technical education program, we have a state-of-the-art fab lab constructed during the 18-19 school year. This is a learning environment that's focused on the design process, using digital design, engineering, and manufacturing principles, not only to solve problems, but to create functional prototypes and products. This includes a 3D printer, laser engraver, CNC mill, CNC plasma cutter, CNC routers, vinyl cutters, large format print, from anything to canvas prints to vehicle wraps, CAD software, CNC milling, CNC lathe, robotics, 3D scanning, and microbids. In addition, the technical education program offers woods, advanced cabinet and furniture making, building construction, basic home mechanics, metals fabrication, computer-aided drafting, graphics, and advanced graphics, the STEM Academy, small engine repair, electronic and electricity, and automation and robotics. The courses counting for dual credit through NTC include the advanced cabinet and furniture making class, metals fabrication 2, CAD mechanical design 1 and 2, CAD architectural design 1 and 2, advanced CAD 3, advanced graphics, and electronics and electricity 2. Our middle school also offers technology programs, and our elementary students have the advantage of using makerspaces as their introduction to technical education. Our media production class focuses on technologies and communications. This is a dual credit course allowing students the opportunity to videotape city and county meetings, school events, and other community events. With technology integration, our district has implemented a comprehensive coding curriculum during the last school year. We've also implemented a state qualifying esports team. Thanks to our one-to-one technology for every student and teacher, we've been able to provide virtual learning days through the COVID district closure and on days with inclement weather. Our Merrill School Forest is owned and operated by the Merrill Area Public School District. The school forest includes 764 plus acres of forest, prairie, and wetland habitats, most of which have been given to the school district as a gift by William Elcher, an 1899 Merrill graduate whose father was a lumber scaler in Merrill. Currently, there are over 10 miles of maintained logging trails, which double as hiking and cross-country ski trails. The school forest has a 20-year forest maintenance plan and is logged with the assistance and guidance of a local DNR forester. The money earned from logging sales helps to purchase skis, snowshoes, and other major purchases to support district curriculum and other student-driven learning opportunities. Regarding extracurricular activities, all athletic programs offered include participation in boys and girls hockey, are offered and include participation in boys and girls hockey co-op teams. Swim team members and students are also able to access our indoor swimming pool located at the middle school. In addition to our athletic teams, the following extracurricular activities are also offered. Clubs for high school credit include chemo, marching, Jays, math league, Merrill Merrill History Club, mock trial, and Skills USA. Community service clubs include the Earth Club and the Octagon Club. Clubs involving the fine arts include the Art Club, the Fall Play, the Jazz Band, the Pet Band, and the School Musical. Clubs for student leadership are the FCA, FFA, LEAD, the Link Crew, the National Honor Society, Student Council, and Student Senate. Clubs for recreational activities include bowling, the fishing club, the ski club, Special Olympics, and the trap shooting team. On to priority number 3. If territory is proposed to be detached from one school district and attached to an adjoining school district, whether the proposed detachment will have any adverse effect on the program currently offered by the school district from which the territory is proposed to be detached, including both the curricular and extracurricular aspects of that program. The response is that adverse effects on our ability to fund programs currently offered by the district will be discussed at the February 25th board meeting, the public hearing. The testimony of and written statements filed by the resident of the affected school district for priority number 4. These have been read by Kevin Blake and Maria. Priority number 5, the estimated fiscal effect of the proposed reorganization on the affected school district, including the effect of the apportionment of the assets and liabilities. The loss of funding from decreased enrollment and tax revenue will also be discussed at the meeting on February 25th. Priority number 6, whether the proposed reorganization will make any part of the school district's territory non-contiguous. Section 26 of Township 30 has not been included in the petitions. Priority number 7, the socioeconomic level and racial composition of the pupils who reside or will reside in territory proposed to be detached from one school district and attached to an adjoining school district. The proportion of pupils who reside in such territory who are children at risk as defined under 118.153, para 1, para A, and the effect that the pupils described in this paragraph will have on the present and future socioeconomic level and racial composition of the affected school districts, on the proportion of the affected school district's enrollment that will be children at risk. The response is that the detachment could create a slight increase of our families currently experiencing poverty as compared to our non-poverty families. Racial composition should remain unchanged. Priority number 8, the effects of referendum held under 117.10 is not applicable. And priority number 9, other relevant factors. To my knowledge, Athens does not offer many of the middle school and high school athletic, extracurricular activities or clubs offered by MAPS. As an example, no boys and girls hockey, no boys and girls soccer, no auto shop or small engine repair, no school forest academic programs, no competitive marching band, no swimming pool, no accredited fab lab, no middle school technical education or elementary maker spaces, and no district virtual program, to name a few. The Athens School District contains 3 buildings, 2 elementary buildings, and 1 middle school, high school combination building. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sample. This time, do any board members have any clarifying questions from Dr. Sample's presentation? Mr. Smith, go ahead.
I have a question to place on the record. Section 26 confuses me greatly because there's a hole in this map. At some point, Mr. Chairman, are we going to have an explanation why Section 26 exists as it does?
If there are clarifying questions here from Dr. Sample's proposal, there is an opportunity for petitioners to respond. So at that time, I would anticipate a response. I'm sure they have been thinking about that, and if not, I'm giving them a few moments to gather their thoughts. But any additional questions?
When would I ask the question in regards to continuous territory? So when I find out why that section is the way it is, and we go through this process, will that be a barrier for whatever decision we make from the DPI level? So is this a deal breaker, so to speak, from powers that be in Madison because there is a chunk of land in the middle of land that buses can't get through? Where do I ask that? When do I ask that question?
As mentioned, we need to go through it. If you want to ask us any question to Dr. Sample administration, we can do that.
In regards to Section 26, Dr. Sample, let's say someone builds a property there and has children there. What does it look like in regards to them going to school? I mean, what happens from your perspective?
From my perspective, if that was maintained as MAP's property and they wanted to go to Athens, they would have to open and enroll, but yet being surrounded by, or being on an island, so to speak, they would have to provide their own transportation. If that remains as MAP's property, that whole, and they wanted to continue to attend MAPS, we wouldn't be able to transport them unless we work to deal out the 2 districts districts had a mutual agreement that one district would transport to the property line, they would change buses, and the other district bus then would pick them up.
And that is governed by state law, that we can only go so far as their own property lines with busing.
We cannot take our buses into another school district without express written permission. For example, our NAC program, they do provide transportation. They're obligated to provide transportation, and they have our permission to come into our district. They're simply dropping off. They're not picking anybody up. So there can be an agreement. I haven't seen a case like this.
But I guess, is it safe for me to say, if that were to happen, the Merrill area public schools could request an agreement with Athens to deal with that issue specifically for a specific family in that province?
And it would probably, yes, it would probably entail a pick-up, drop-off exchange at the boundary line. Correct.
Additional questions, Mr. Smith? Otherwise, I would ask any other board members having clarifying questions from administration or Dr. Samples' presentation. Linda?
Can you, I guess the numbers for the petitions that you went over for the district and for Athens, can you give those again or no? I think it said there was numbers for in town here as well, and then numbers in the school. Did I understand that correctly? Or did I get that confused? Where you went over the percentages of the petitions for the Maple Grove kids, or I'm sorry, the kids at school that took it. Okay, sorry.
Approximately half of the families with students who attend Maple Grove School and live outside of the proposed area to be detached did not sign petitions. And then approximately half of the families with students who attend other MAP schools, such as the middle school, other elementary schools, the high school, BBA, and live in the area proposed for detachment also did not sign petitions.
Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't make that clarified enough, but I didn't know how to answer that actually. Thank you.
Dr. Samples, the only people that would have signed would have been inside the territory, not outside, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
I heard something different the second time, so I just wanted to clarify that, make sure everyone heard the same thing. For your clarifying question, and then thank you. Mr. Smith?
This one's in regards to sports opportunities. WIAA regulates that, from what I understand over the years. Does an open enrolled student have any limitations to what they can participate in regards to sports?
They do. I'll use BVA as an example. BVA had a student who was probably I'll say the second best golfer in the state several years ago. And if that student would have been allowed to participate as an open enrolled student in the BVA, what that does for the district is it puts us at the highest level competing with the schools out of Milwaukee and Madison, because now we're counting BVA as our enrollment. So there is an opportunity for an open enrolled student to compete. It depends on the school district. In our case, we have no BVA students that compete in any athletics because of how it will boost all of our student body, our football team, all athletics into that highest division with having more students when you add another 1,000 to our enrollment.
So are you saying at this time the Merrill district has chose not to allow open enrolled students to participate in sports?
Correct.
Could choose to make that decision in the future?
I'm sorry?
It's a choice that we made to not allow open enrolled students to participate as of right now, but in the future, if we decided to allow them, that's another alternative?
To my knowledge, yes, we would have that option.
Okay.
We would have that choice. I can check further with WIA.
Any additional additional clarifying questions from board members at this time on Dr. Sample's presentation? Go ahead.
In regards to the number of students who are in grades 6 through 12, do you have what that number is currently?
Not off the top of my head.
We have that for next, to the 25th.
Number of grade students next year in grade 6 through 12, projected number.
Yeah, basically trying to understand how many students next year will be personally affected by the decision we make
Gotcha.
that are not involved with the Maple Grove School in entirety.
Any additional questions from board members? Clarifying the presentation by Dr. Sample. I don't see any additional hands raised. Thank you, Dr. Sample. This time, I would allow a response from the petitioners on any or all of the presentation by Dr. Sample or administration.
I'm officially a non-petitioner, but is that okay? By the way that the response. Sorry, I had anticipated, according to the agenda, that I would have spoken after anyway, so that would have just been able to go right into. So a couple thoughts that I had with that. One of the main concerns that we know of families that go to Maple Grove for the secondary thing, for their secondary education, would be that transportation hole that we currently have right now. Dr. Sample has stated multiple times that there will not be, but he also confirmed after Mr. Smith made some comments, that is the district's choice. That would be MAP saying we refuse to allow that, not a impossibility. They are not legally bound to require that, but I would not, I can't fathom any reason other than spite that MAPS would just say, you know what, this sounds like this could be a mutual, some Maple Grove kids go this way, some secondary kids go this way. So I just want to clarify that that is correct. They are not legally bound to do that, but they 100% can give permissions, just like he stated, that there are permissions in places in that as well. So that is a district choice. Some of the resume that was listed from Dr. Sample of wonderful things that go on MAPS. It's awesome to hear about all those things. I would declare its relevancy without having Athens also come in to list the entire realm, if that would even matter, about the things that they have to offer, as well as the idea of that's a parent's choice. You know, if hockey was important, they would probably open in Rome somewhere. They would do something. I actually taught at BVA and had students that were not able to participate in sports, so I can speak a little bit to that. And the issue is that when you include BVA is like a school of like 1,000 people because they're all over the state, right? So when you suddenly add 1,000 pupils, when you include that school into our districting, it suddenly makes us look like we should be like a Milwaukee school where we have this huge pool of student talent to pick from, which enables us to have to then suddenly be like, okay, instead of getting to compete against these people, we gotta compete against top dogs. So that relevancy happens with BVA. That relevancy would not happen with an open enroll student for the Hamburg area. So I would just like to speak to that. Also, the relevancy of the special ed practices. Athens is 100% ready to fully staff Maple Grove as well as offer us a special education program. Currently, we are operating understaffed as well as with a teaching principal who is having to do all of her administrative duties and is a superstar and also takes on all the special education needs in that building. So as far as what we've seen from MAPS offering us those, we've kind of been cut out of those opportunities that might be available to in-town schools, and that's kind of MAPS's platform of, hey, come over here and we'll start giving you the services that we do have available. So I know there's a broad spectrum and different details for that, but just the knowledge of special education students in the Hamburg area will be served well and fully, as opposed to how they have been being served under the operation of MAPS. And then, let's see, and then I think you clarified the idea of, well, so these people didn't sign? well, we can't, like, I don't own land there, I don't live there, so, you know, that doesn't mean that I don't approve of it, it's just you can't have my signature on paper for that record. And then just again, with some of the options that are there, like I said, I'll speak to, I 100%, as a child, thought I would be sending my kid to a private school. Then I moved to Merrill. Said, okay, my options are a little bit different, okay? Sought out and chose Maple Grove. My kid is in 5th grade and it is February and I probably have 6 ulcers trying to figure out where to send them to secondary. I might choose Merrill because my kid is a big fish in a little pond right now. I don't know, you know, like the Christian school I thought I was going to send her to, it doesn't have the school programs I need. Like, I can't send her somewhere without sports, things like that. But that's a family's individual choice. That's not hindering the community members of Hamburg. And I realize that some people are in different situations of transportation. You know, there's going to be some different things that they have. But that's a parent's choice to be able to choose that, not just because they live in this area, they're suddenly incapable of having those opportunities. And with the Merrill board partnering and creating that bridge with the Athens School District, those opportunities are not gone, but you're enhancing that community relationship, which I think everybody can appreciate and enjoy. So those are all of them.
Thank you, Trina. Is there any more clarifying questions for Trina? You can come back up, Trina. I see a couple of hands.
Oh, sorry. Try to run really quick.
Well, it could be for anyone representing the side. Is there an explanation for section 26?
Yes, sir. I'm going to go and say that's a legal interpretation and possibly a mistake because that's not our intention. We looked at that and said, that's weird. So there would be no intention for us to exclude that area. We're going to assume that that was something that was missed. We would not be looking for that to be discontinuous. Like, our goal is to have that entire area be able to be serviced in a logical way. So, I mean, we'll have to get back to you with specific details on that, but we looked at that like, that's not the goal. So, anything like that, like I said, if for some reason that was there, we might have to redo different things, or there might have to be some conversation. Like I said, can we even move forward with that little hole figuring out there? I think that we would definitely be looking into that, but the reality is we're not trying to like scoop out this little area and throw it to the wayside or create transportation problems for like the family that you mentioned, hey, if someone moved into that district. But again, if something like that was there, the school district 100% has the option to approve making sure that the child that is in that block would be serviced appropriately.
So if I understand it correctly, because this is a very serious legal matter, Section 26 right now is just an oversight of opportunity to sign petitions and be part of this process. That is going to be remedied before we have the opportunity to vote.
That's why I'm going to have Peter speak to that since he was more closely related to the actual land items and collecting the signatures with the foundation.
Trina, then I'll have you come back up. A couple other board members have questions.
Our David Ward is speaking. That might be able to speak to them, if that would be an option. He's virtual.
Travis, can you adjust the virtual sound so board members and all those in attendance can hear concerning David Moore?
Yes, thank you. Are you able to hear me adequately? Do you hear me?
Can you speak up a little bit more, Attorney Moore?
Sure. I understand the folks that are on the Google Connect can hear me, but I'm not sure you can hear me adequately. The only microphone I have is the one on my computer. I wanted to respond specifically to the question about Section 26. It would appear, and I don't have a copy of the petition in front of me at this moment, but that the exclusion of Section 26, if it was excluded from the legal description, was an error and a typo. But the description on the petition actually describes the property in two ways. It describes it
as all of that portion of the Merrill School District included within the town of Hamburg. And then it also includes an attempt at legally describing that precisely. And if I understand the situation correctly, there's an erroneous omission in the more precise legal description as to section 26. But the petition does state that the intent is to detach all that portion of the school district located within the town of Hamburg. I will, of course, look at this again, and I assume that the district will want to consult its own legal counsel, but I wanted to respond to be clear as to what I believe we're talking about.
That makes sense. So it's not like there's multiple descriptions. One description would be
And that's all I
and then the second one would be
assume that
inclusive of all.
consult its own legal counsel.
Thank you for the clarification, Attorney Moore. While Trina's up here, I saw Mr. Wallace hand up and then Ms. Yingling. So Brent, go ahead, Linda.
I guess I just had a question about the special education program you mentioned with the services. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
So we haven't had the ability to speak super closely with Athens as we've been waiting to make sure that we respect the decisions and things that are happening with MAPS and with our work. But we do know that they have full intention of giving us what we need and making sure that we have that. So they do their special education services differently, where they don't have a teaching principal. They would have a principal, an administrator, and a special ed person that would be coming in. So basically 2 people. Dr. Nunn is doing 2 people's jobs, and dang well I might add. And Athens would be giving us 2 individuals with that.
Just to kind of, hopefully this is a clarifying question. If not, just say, let them be quiet. Because these are hard. So in other words, currently, there's not a special education teacher out at Maple Grove?
Dr. Nunn is special ed certified, and special, so she is the special ed teacher, but she is just also required to do all of her administrative duties as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's just, we don't have like a, hey, here's the special ed teacher, it's welcome Dr. Nunn doing all the things.
But, I guess, sorry, I think you had something else. But the services, I guess, but Merrill does offer services, but if we're not able to perform them at Maple Grove, the children do come into town currently, correct?
I believe it's their choice if they were for some reason not being serviced accurately, but we do service plenty of students with needs that they had. I mean, if there were other limitations or something like that, I think that we run into, like, hey, this class is more specialized, where a family would benefit more from a different building. But no, I mean, they're definitely receiving special ed services.
Okay.
It's just a matter of you have one person having to work probably twice as hard in order to make sure that those are accomplished. So our students are serviced very well within the limitations. It's the same type of a thing, whereas we've had combined classrooms for years. They're doing a great job, but there's a lot of challenges that come with one person having to do split standards for 2 different grade levels.
Understood. Thank you. That's all I have.
Yeah, actually, mine kind of links off of. Anyways, mine kind of goes off what Linda actually brought up. So Athens hasn't given anything on a formal vote, any resolutions, anything like that, to your point of special education or even detachment for that matter. We're just going, it presented to you as just formal background emails of their insurances of what they're going to do. I'm just trying to kind of.
No, that makes sense. I'm just trying to figure out how much detail. I know that their lawyer has been involved as well, and that they have, I mean, there hasn't been legal things gone because we have to wait for you to make decisions for them to be able to get moving to make sure that they have everything in place. Some of the decisions you make, including the timeline, will affect their ability to do wonderful things with us, because there's time restrictions for different things, especially with us being a charter. So mass waiting to make decisions could affect things not in the most positive way either way. So especially if there isn't reasons for waiting, I don't anticipate that that would be beneficial to anyone, including the petitioners, the students at MAPS, or any consolidation plans.
So there's nothing formally that's been presented to assure that they will renew a charter with you, or they will
Correct,
establish a
because
charter?
they can't, because we are still under contract with MAPS.
Correct.
So they have to wait for the MAPS board to legally make their move. So it's picture a divorce.
Yep, I understand.
You know, like
Yep,
that, I
yep,
can't like, new hubby isn't moving in until wife is officially divorced from the first, if that makes sense.
Right,
He's respectfully standing aside.
right. Okay.
Yeah, so I know that that's kind of hard because we don't have those details, we don't have anything, but here is the beneficials and here's the things that, we anticipate. But I can say that the petitioners, our governance board, the parents, if we didn't want those things to happen, we wouldn't be encouraged.
Right, but
We didn't see that
I'm
they
kind
had
of just
beneficial.
looking at it, I can't really accept the rebuttal of just, let's just use a special education standpoint, if there's nothing that actually says they're gonna do that for you. That's kind of, I'm just trying to separate out where we're at.
Oh, and I think that's the case though, like, and without Athens being allowed to basically be here and present,
Right.
that kind of makes the things that Merrill.
What do they have to offer?
And I think
Sure.
that's why the desire is for both boards to be able to get together and have those discussions.
Right.
So that makes sense.
Mr. Smith, that a follow-up question?
Yeah, it's relevant to this discussion. I'm under the understanding that we're here by state statute offering the opportunity for the citizens of Hamburg to petition the school board, and then the Athens School District will be obligated to do the same thing. So, I guess, are you having discussions with the Athens School Board, and is there a date set for such a hearing in the Athens area?
Because they were unable to do that until we had ours. That's my understanding of that, but I think Peter can get more.
Honored to answer that.
Whoever has the answer.
John, I believe your question, from what I understand your question to be, has there been conversation with the Athens School District regarding programs, opportunities between the governance board or parents? The answer to that question is, it is premature for the governance board to enter into conversations such as that. It is an opportunistic position for the MAPS district to start a conversation with the Athens district. The Athens district is open to such a conversation. The intent of the Athens district to continue the charter school has been factually documented in news media. Does that answer your question?
No, I'm forced to follow up. Perhaps Dr. Serby can answer it better. Again, it's under my understanding that this proceeding, Athens proceeding, is not contingent upon this proceeding. You are a populace of people, and you are petitioning your current school board to detach and go to Athens. It would seem logical that Athens knows all about this, especially their board members, and are preparing a hearing just like this, so that, again, as a populace of people, you will present to them the reasons why you want to join Athens. So, what, I guess, based on Brett's question, what are the details in regards to what's been done thus far, so that when we get to a decision point, is it the beginning point for Athens? It's the beginning of where they start the public hearing process. Since that entire community has the same situation that's going to unfold, and they would give a similar presentation as Dr. Sample to why it's a great idea for detachment to occur.
If I could address that question, and Dr. Zerbe may also. That question is best answered by the Athens School District. Perhaps the administrator of the Athens School District is at liberty to speak to that subject. Their attorney is available to you. These questions need to be answered. The answers can fully be obtained by starting the conversation. Your question as to whether it's a new conversation to Athens School District, that answer is no. This is not new to them. Statutorily, the Athens School District shall provide an opportunity for the petitioners to present prior to February 1. Excuse me, March 1, thank you. To date, that meeting has not been publicly announced.
That's one of my questions. Thank you.
Any follow-up questions, Mr. Smith? Just the only follow-up question that I would have, and maybe it's for Dr. Serby or any of the petitioners. We were talking in your presentation tonight to provide reasons why the board should allow detachment. We saw the historical piece, we've heard written statements and in-person statements. Is there any additional reasons in response by petitioners? I understand the separation between boards and the governance board, but there are petitioners here as well. Is there any additional reasons? And I don't mean to call you out, but you were one of, I believe yourself and Sean were petitioners, and there's others certainly supporting that are here, but is there other reasons, because that is on the petitioners to share that?
The only other reason, I don't know if you want me to also read it, I provided it as a written testimony as well as like the paper copy tonight, which would be the same criteria or priorities that Dr. Sample spoke to, which was provided as written testimony. Is that something that I should read to make it official? Or is it acceptable in written testimony form?
Either way is fine.
I mean, I can go ahead and read through those. I did give you all of my copies. So if I could grab one from somebody and then I can read those on the microphone. Oh, Lynn's got one. I'm not sure if this mic is on. Okay, thank you. So this is the last thing that I can think of that has not been spoken to out loud. So I can read through these, and I'll take my mask off because otherwise I'm not going to be able to get enough air. So criteria 1 is the geographical and topographical characteristics of the affected school districts, including the estimated travel time to and from school for pupils in the school districts. The area proposed for detachment is entirely contained within the town of Hamburg. It represents the only portion of the Merrill Area Common Public School District now located in the county of Marathon. It is immediately adjacent to and geographically aligned with the Athens School District. The area proposed for detachment contains one school facility, Maple Grove, which is unique and has deep historical roots in the Hamburg community. The MAPS district has decided that the interests of the district require the closure of Maple Grove, which presently operates as a charter school. The Athens district has enthusiastically embraced the continued operation of Maple Grove. 2, the educational needs of all the children residing in the affected school districts, the educational programs currently offered by each affected school district, and the ability and commitment of each school district to meet those needs and continue to offer those educational programs. If the area proposed for detachment is not detached from Merrill District, the children within the district and students who are open enrolled from other districts, will no longer have the opportunity to attend Maple Grove and to experience its unique educational and cultural benefits. MAPS has expressed it is no longer committed to the continued operation of Maple Grove, while Athens has expressed a commitment to keep Maple Grove operating as a vital part of the Athens District's future mission. Athens is committed to maintaining the existing learning climate and culture of Maple Grove, which the students, parents, staff, and community currently embrace. The attachment of Maple Grove would provide current and future elementary students, parents, and staff in Athens with a charter experience focused on an immersive science-based curriculum that could spur such opportunities into the district's middle and high schools. If territory is proposed to be, number 3, if territory is proposed to be detached from one school district and attached to an adjoining school district, or proposed to be included in a new school district under statute 117.105, whether the proposed detachment will have any adverse effect on the program currently offered by the school district from which the territory is proposed to be detached, including both curricular and extracurricular aspects of that program. The detachment of the proposed territory from MAPS and its attachment to Athens will have no adverse effect on the program of MAPS, in that MAPS has already decided to close Maple Grove, the only school within the area proposed for detachment. The detachment will have no negative effect on curriculum or extracurricular activities of MAPS, while the addition of a unique successful charter school to the Athens district will enhance curriculum and extracurricular options. Denial of the proposed detachment and the consequent closing of Maple Grove would adversely affect community spirit and the pride parents and students have in the school. Number 4, the testimony of and written statements filed by the residents of the affected school districts. So tonight, those have been presented, and we are including hundreds of signatures of electors and property owners within the area proposed for detachment. Number 5, the estimated fiscal effect of the proposed reorganization on the affected school districts, including the effect of the apportionment of assets and liabilities. The proposed reorganization will, of course, have some fiscal effect on both districts. However, for the MAPS district, the negative fiscal effect of closing a successful charter school will occur regardless of whether the detachment occurs. The detachment will further result in a loss of comparatively small portion of the MAPS district's tax base, which it would add a proportionally greater area to the Athens district's tax base and have a proportionally greater effect on that district, providing financial stability and a potential decrease in local property taxes to the entire Athens community. Because the Athens district proposes to continue to operate Maple Grove, Athens will realize the financial benefit of continuing to attract students from outside the district and of retaining Athens students. That benefit will likely increase the promotion of Maple Grove as a unique attraction within the Athens district, and the availability of the Walter Mabel Fromm Scholarship Fund valued at $3.5 million would provide an added financial benefit to the students in the district. Further, the closing of Maple Grove by the MAPS district will result in the reversion of the Maple Grove property to private use, in that the original gift of the school to MAPS is subject to a reversionary clause requiring the continuation of the use of the property for school purposes as a condition of the gift. The continued operation of Maple Grove will result in the preservation of the property for purposes of public education. Number 6, whether the proposed reorganization will make any part of a district's territory non-contiguous. The proposed organization will not make any part of the school district's territory non-contiguous. It will in fact result in a configuration that is more in accordance with the existing jurisdictional lines in the area. So as Attorney Moore referenced, the first description referencing the entire area is included, is the accurate description, and any omission of section 26 would be a typo. But of course, that is going to be looked into further. Number 7, the socioeconomic level and racial composition of the peoples who reside or will reside in territory proposed to be detached from one district and attached to an adjoining district in territory proposed to be included in a new school district under section statute 117.105, or in school districts proposed to be consolidated, or in a school district proposed to be dissolved. And the effect that the peoples described in this paragraph will have on the present and future socioeconomic level and racial composition of the affected school districts and on the proportion of the affected school districts' enrollments that will be children at risk. The proposed reorganization and the consequent continuation of Maple Grove will offer the opportunity to continue the operation of a successful, well-run charter school that is local in relation to the pupils in the area. It will be easier for students within the area to be transported to school. The effect on socioeconomic level of pupils within the area will only be increased. The racial composition of the affected school districts will not be discernibly affected. Number 8, the results of any referendum held under Statute 117.10. No such referendum has occurred or is necessary. 9, other appropriate factors. The effort of parents to obtain the necessary signatures on petitions, the number of petitioners, and the plan of the Athens district being developed to ensure continued quality and financial soundness all demonstrate community support for the detachment and for the continuation of Maple Grove that would result from the proposed detachment.
Thank you. Any clarifying questions on the summary of the arguments and criteria for school district reorganizations that Dr. Serby has provided? Mr. Smith?
Under your statement in section 1, statement made, the Athens district has enthusiastically embraced the continued operation of Maple Grove. I define a district as the board, but I'm hearing that the board is yet to be engaged. How do you make that statement?
In that case, according to Dr. Jeff Maston's comments publicly, is where that's from. So yeah, we do not have a specific commitment from the Athens board in the form of a vote at this time, nor have we been able to communicate with them on that. So maybe not as comprehensively as the district, but the superintendent has indicated those things.
That's the superintendent's statement.
Right.
Under section 2, you said the educational needs of all children residing in the affected school district. In your response, I'm not seeing too much in regards to 6th through 12th graders. Did you do any type of review or analysis in regards to what Athens has to offer 6th through 12th grader as comparative to MAPS?
Those, other than just being a citizen in Hamburg and kind of knowing what's going on, we have not done a comprehensive conversation with Athens, considering exactly the offerings that they have, just because, like Trina mentioned, we haven't met with their board yet, so.
In regards to the third one, you state, attachment to Athens will have no adverse effect. Detachment will have no negative effect on curriculum or extracurricular activities of MAPS. Testimony from the superintendent indicated likely otherwise. Do you have some sort of documentation and or evidence to where you made that statement?
So that's only referring to the current curricular and extracurricular activities that Maple Grove offers as a part of the MAPS school district, and that's what that statement is referring to.
It wouldn't necessarily include those again in the 6th through 12th grades.
Correct.
You know, on section 5, you state detachment will result in a comparatively small portion of the MAPS district's tax base. Do you know what that is? Like, what does a comparatively small portion mean in regards to numbers?
Approximately $500,000.
So $500,000 of tax received revenue to the district is what would represent.
In comparison to the total tax dollars received by the
Servy's presentation.
Sorry, I apologize. I thought I didn't have any questions. I have just one more.
Okay.
The last statement on 9 states, the effort of parents to obtain the necessary signatures on petition, which I understand, the number of petitioners which has been demonstrated as being the majority. And then it says, the plan of Athens District being developed to ensure quality and financial soundness. I thought there was not a plan.
I'm not aware of what the plan is.
But in this summary provided as evidence, there's a plan of Athens District being developed to ensure continued quality and financial soundness. So I need to see that or hear something of it, because that's how I have to make my decision.
Please, if I may address the board. The scope of the plan from the Athens District's perspective. Has not fully been represented to the governance board. Formally, the board has not expressed a plan or the plan to the governance board. That opportunity will be at their statutory required special meeting. Thoroughly, your board has the opportunity to communicate with the Athens board, either personally or through your attorneys. I assure you, there is a plan.
Well, it's my understanding that you are a petitioner. So you're petitioning this board. The board is not petitioning anybody, nor are we responsible to dialogue with the other district. And so I'm trying to garner, in this document that I'm using to make a decision, it says the plan of the Athens district is being developed. So, but Athens district is not currently working on a plan. The district of Athens is not working on a plan. That's what I'm trying to ascertain. From what I understand, the Maple Grove Governance Board, or the Friends of Maple Grove, have a plan, but yet we haven't involved that municipality. Is that correct?
Perhaps I can address that for you, sir. My name is Jeff Maston. I'm the superintendent of schools in Athens, and came tonight to observe the proceedings. And there's been a lot of questions that are being directed towards people that I don't think have the answers. And I didn't come tonight to speak, but if you have specific questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those if you'd like to communicate open that dialogue.
Can you speak to the Athens plan?
Can you reference it again, please?
In the documents provided, it says, efforts of parents to obtain the necessary signatures, the number of petitioners, this is what I should take into consideration, and the plan of Athens districts being developed to ensure continued quality and financial soundness. So I just wanted someone to speak to that particular sentence, because it gives me the impression there is a group of people right now in the Athens area putting together a plan, and I wondered if someone would be able to speak to it so that I can make a sound decision, knowing that these kids, if transferred to Athens, would be in good hands.
I have been following the procedures going on between Maple Grove and Merrill School District for the last year and a half since I've come on board as a superintendent of Athens, and have followed it closely. And then as we see the proximity of us being able to maybe be part of that solution to the problem that exists by keeping Maple Grove schools open, I have been in constant communication with my board on a monthly basis, letting them know where things stand, what's happening at MAPS, what's happening with Maple Grove, and how it could possibly impact our district. So they've been in constant communication the last 18 months with my board. As a matter of fact, we had a meeting just last night for our monthly board meeting, and we did present at that time what is actually happening between both parties. And then once the parties resolve what you're doing between one another, then I believe that would be our opportunity as a district to step forward. We do not want to impinge on the communication that's happening here between both, but we are in the background awaiting what happens. So you had mentioned, sir, wondering if we had a plan in place for if you were to make a decision, what we would do. As a matter of fact, we had a tentative board meeting set up for tomorrow night. But we had heard that you had extended it from not only the 16th, so we did make since this going to the 17th, now you're talking the 25th. We've made a tentative board meeting, set up a special meeting for Saturday, the 27th at 11 a.m. So we are ready to go if a decision is made on your part. And so we do have a plan, and we would like to work with you. We would like to work with Maple Grove to make this happen. So again, I didn't come in tonight to be that liaison, but I hear specific questions that are being addressed to people that really don't know where we stand at this point in time. They know where they stand. They know where they stand very well. We know where you stand very well, and I'd like to represent where we stand on a very well portion. So I think it's a three-headed communication piece that we need to put in place in order to make this a win-win-win situation for all the kids. And that's what it boils down to me.
Yeah, I appreciate your insight. That's exactly what I was interested in hearing, because as of prior to your comments, I could not see beyond that, right? I can only see up to the point of the petitioners. I can't see into the Athens School District, even though it's referenced several times as evidence to my decision making. So I appreciate you stepping forward. Well, Mike.
If you have any questions at all, we are very open to answering them. So maybe we're at a point in time where we need to start passing the baton between both districts and communicate more than we have in the past, and letting Maple Grove be that facilitator. Maybe we need to start facilitating ourselves.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had another board member or two with questions, but I believe I'm seeing hands pulled back at this time that I'll let Superintendent Maston answer some questions and referencing some of the questions. The only clarifying question that I had, and Peter was at the microphone prior to that, I know you're a representative, and we certainly mentioned a number of times, Peter, just for clarification, are you a petitioner, or are you not able to be a petitioner and you're a representative of the foundation?
Yes, thank you. I regret to say that I do not own territory, land within the territory, and I do not reside in Hamburg. I am not legally able to be a petitioner. I do represent and am part of a 501c3, a public charity, Maple Grove Foundation Incorporated, created to support the Maple Grove School. I have acted as a facilitator of this process. Does that help?
It does. That was my understanding, and I just wanted a clarification in case somebody did not understand that as well. Thank you, Peter. I saw someone's hand up. We were talking about a possible motion for executive closed session. Do we have someone else looking to speak yet?
Pardon me, I arrived late to the meeting. I am Eric Vogel, chairperson, Town of Hamburg. Peter has been working tirelessly on behalf of the town and its petitioners to move forward with this agenda or process. I just want to say that without Peter's support, this probably wouldn't be possible for our town. And I'd like to congratulate him and the Maple Grove's charity on their behalf for doing so. It's pretty obvious that the petitioners in my town, in the town of Hamburg, we're ready to make a move, if it's at all possible, to detach from the MAP school district, as hard as it is to say, as I have two high schoolers here in town. But, you know, I think if for the better part of the community and for the better part of the MAP district, if you're looking to save some money and to close the school, and we have another district that's potentially willing to keep it open and work with you guys, mind you, work with you guys to facilitate this process. It's in the best interest of everybody that's involved here. And I think, I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but as chairperson of the town, was my petitioners in trying to start this process, I thought it was my opportunity to come up here and address the board on that subject. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any clarifying questions? Thank you for your time and your statement. Dr. Sanford?
Thank you, Mr. Blake. I do have an answer for you, Mr. Smith. Per the WIAA open enrollment guidelines and restrictions, non-resident students may not participate in varsity level athletics. It's based on recruitment and those types of things. So they must reside in the district in order to compete.
It's not true. That's actually one of my concerns, just because I understand in the
Can I say something about that? Give the board member response first.
Yeah. From my understanding in the, I think in the Edgar Stratford Marathon area, where it's very sports competitive, there's resident issues that people actually move into the districts to play sports. And so that's why I asked the question, is my concern being, if the decision is made to detach, would 6th through 12th graders be able to open enroll and participate in MAPS sporting events? And I'm hearing the answer is no, according to WIAA rules.
For varsity, correct.
For varsity level stuff. All right, thank you.
To respond to that, we just had two very young men in my class who lived in Merrill, played hockey their whole lives, and they open enrolled in Wausau West and they play varsity sports at Wausau West for hockey. And I know they lived in the Merrill School District.
So one of the things, just to comment on what you're saying, is there is an open enrollment in or out in various districts that have been mentioned by presenters on both sides this evening. So you're correct, there is a process. That doesn't mean it is guaranteed. And multiple districts are involved, but there is a way to do that.
So it's not impossible. That's the way we heard it. That's the way we've been hearing it, Dr. Sample, that it's impossible. Correct?
I hear what you're saying, and there is a process and there are timelines, correct. And I know where you're referring to, and I know that can happen, and it happens in cooperatives and other manners, including open enrolling out if they live in a particular area. I understand your statement, thank you. Mr. Waller?
Dr. Sample, I could be incorrect on this, I don't remember specifically. And so you mentioned hockey at Wausau West?
Wausau West.
Okay, never mind. I was thinking Wausau East, sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
What is the answer? Can a student play varsity level sports in Merrill if they're from the Athens district?
I think he's referring to the co-op. So if we had a co-op football team, like the co-op hockey team, where you're combining districts, then that's the understanding with the co-op. So if we had a co-op football team, we would have to combine districts in order to have students that do not reside in our districts compete on that co-op team. But I'll let you guys go.
Without getting into confidential information, I'll get Chad the microphone to speak momentarily. There are opportunities as stated for open enrollment out. Someone perhaps resides in MAPS or any other district, and based on employment or other reasons, want to participate in, it's usually educational and not just athletic opportunities, but there are criteria by the WIA, and I'm not a scholar on that, but I do know that there are some examples. Some of the questions that you asked or mentioned before in PACs, this started a lot in basketball rivalries in Milwaukee districts and Madison's. Because for a while you had Hamilton or Vincent and different ones that had done very well. So there was also some times where perhaps you were foregoing your sophomore or junior year because you moved to grandma's house or an employer change was noted. But I will turn this over if you can state your name and what you have for the WIA background, please, Chad.
Name is Chad Krieger. I just know personally I have two nieces who open enrolled, do play varsity sports in another town that live in Merrill. I do, if you look, I think it is, as long as you enroll in before your freshman year, open enroll, you're allowed to start. If you enroll after your freshman year, you have to sit out a year, unless both schools waive that right. Merrill, I think, let's see, she would have been a senior last year. I believe we open enrolled a girl from Tomahawk that used to be in the virtual school, but then open enrolled in Merrill just so she could play the sports because she wasn't allowed in virtual school.
Go ahead.
So if I'm understanding all of this, as you can see, I know next to nothing about sports, but I know it's valuable to students. If a student from Athens open enrolled to the Merrill High School, the Merrill High School and the Athens High School or superintendents could sign off on that opportunity and they would not need to sit out a year because we have agreement between two schools. Is that how you understand it?
That's the way I understand it. Correct. And if they do not agree, he or she has to sit out 1 year.
Okay.
Eligibility.
Thank you.
There's a lot of college.
Good, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I know we had a contemplated motion to move to close session to confer with legal counsel pursuant to section 19.85(1)(g) of Wisconsin statutes concerning strategy to be adopted by the board with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved to appeal of any decision regarding one or more of the detachment requests in section 19.85(1)(e) Wisconsin statutes to conduct specified public business which for competitive or bargaining reasons requires a closed session to the division of assets and liabilities between the school districts in the event of the granting of one or more of the detachment petitions. The board will reconvene in open session after any such closed session to resume deliberations and take such action regarding the petition as it deems appropriate and or adjourn the special meeting or ask any follow-up questions of petitioners. Do we have that motion at this time?
So moved.
Mr. Smith. Second by Ms. Volpe. I have a roll call vote on that, please, Tammy.
Brett Waller.
Aye.
Linda Yingling. Aye. Ron Liberty.
Aye.
Kendra Osnes. Aye. John Smith.
Aye.
Maria Volpe. Aye. Kevin Blake.
Aye. Currently 8:35, we will take a 5-minute recess to get safely to our closed session area. And then at that time, as needed, we would come back for open session. If any petitioners or people supporting the petition stay around and possibly ask any questions, if we have any yet this evening, that would be wonderful. Otherwise, as noted, the regular board meeting is tomorrow evening, as well as the next public hearing is slated for the evening of Thursday, February 25th. At this time, we're going to adjourn into closed session. Thank you.